Penguin presents The Spook's Revenge by Joseph Delaney. Read by Thomas Judd. Chapter 1. Another Way. I awoke from a nightmare, my heart pounding, and sat up in bed feeling sick. For a few moments I thought I was going to vomit, but gradually my stomach settled down. In my dream, I'd been killing Alice, cutting away her thumb bones. At Halloween, now barely a month away, I would have to carry out this terrible ritual in the real world. It was what was expected of me. My mam wished it, for it was the only way to end the threat of the Fiend forever. But how could I do it? How could I kill Alice? I lay awake, fearful of going back to sleep, lest the nightmare resume. Painful thoughts continued to swirl through my head. Alice was a willing victim. She was prepared to be sacrificed. Not only that, but she had bravely ventured into the dark to retrieve the Blade of Sorrow. This was one of the hero swords, 3 sacred weapons to be used to destroy the Fiend. Weapons that would kill her in the process. The hero swords had been forged by the old god Hephaestus. The first of these was the Destiny Blade, given to me by Cahoolin in Ireland. The second was called Bonecutter, and now, if Alice had succeeded in her quest into the dark, I would possess all 3. At the moment, the Fiend was bound to his dead flesh, his body impaled with silver spears in the Irish countryside, his head in a leather sack in the possession of Grimalkin, the witch assassin. She was on the run, fighting desperately to keep it from the Fiend's servants. If they got hold of it, they would reunite head and body, and the Fiend would walk the earth once more, and the ritual could not take place. But Alice had still not returned from the dark. Perhaps something had happened, I thought. Maybe she would never come back. I was also worried about my brother James, who had gone missing. The Fiend had said that his servants had cut his throat and thrown him into a ditch. I desperately hoped he was lying, but I couldn't keep the terrible thought of it out of my head for long. I tried to sleep again, but without success, and the night dragged on. Then, just before dawn, the mirror on my bedside table suddenly began to glow. Alice was the only one who ever contacted me using a mirror. I sat up and grabbed it, looking into the glass, hardly daring to hope. For weeks and weeks I'd been waiting for word from her. I thought that perhaps I would see her just stroll happily into the garden, the Dolorous Blade, the Blade of Sorrow, in hand. But now Alice would be able to tell me that all was well immediately. My heart soared with happiness as she stared out of the glass at me, a faint smile on her lips. She mouthed a sentence. "I'm on the edge of the Western Garden." In the past, I used to communicate with Alice by breathing on the glass and writing, but I'd grown skilled at reading her lips. She had no difficulty at all in reading mine. "Wait there," I told her. "I'll be down right away." I dressed quickly, then went downstairs as quietly as possible, trying not to wake the spook. As I headed out through the back door, a thought struck me. Why hadn't Alice come into the garden? The sky was growing lighter in the east, and as I passed the bench where my master sometimes gave me lessons, I saw Alice waiting at the edge of the trees. She was clothed as I had last seen her, in a dark dress that just came down below her knees and her pointy shoes. But what cheered me most of all was the smile on her pretty face. I ran towards her, and she opened her arms, her smile broadening. We hugged each other tight and rocked back and forth. "You're safe! You're safe!" I cried. "I never thought I'd see you again." At last we broke apart and stared at each other silently for a moment or two. "There were times when I thought I'd never escape from the dark," Alice said. "But I did it, Tom. I got in and out safely, and I have the blade. Glad to see you, I am." She pulled it from her pocket and held it out to me. I turned it over and over in my hands, examining it closely. It looked just like its twin, Bonecutter. The same skelt with ruby eyes adorned the hilt, staring up at me. The skelt was a killer that hid in crevices near water before scuttling out on its 8 legs to pierce its victims with its bone tube and drain their blood. I forced my eyes away from the blade and looked again at Alice, feeling a surge of happiness. I'd missed her so much. How could I ever have considered sacrificing her? Even the destruction of the Fiend surely couldn't justify it. It was clear to me now that I couldn't go through with it. Tears came to my eyes and a lump to my throat. "You're brave, Alice. Nobody else could have succeeded."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?